name is Iliko Gilders. I'm here at the IGY Simpson Bay Yacht Club Marina celebrating World Mangrove Day. This is a part of Project Corina, which is Coastal Resilience Needs Assessment. It's a project that we're spearheading with the Ministry of VROMI in partnership with the Nature Foundation. We collaborate often with the Nature Foundation through a service level agreement where they conduct research and outreach for us, and it helps us produce our policies. And we're very proud to collaborate on this day. It marks a milestone as we work to protect Little Key Island through a national decree. And today we're going to head out onto the Simpson Bay Lagoon to look at Little Key and the Mullet Pond. These are areas where numerous efforts between the different environmental organizations, EPIC Foundation, Nature Foundation, as well as funding through the Essex Some Do It. We have been very busy restoring these areas with mangroves, and now we're going to go and do a check to see what is the status of these mangroves as we are working to also protect Little Key. We have about 50 people here today, and we are very excited. We're going to have a beautiful day on the water, and we look forward to doing this again next year.
So I won't go too much into the environment because I know that Tadzio and some other speakers are going to go into the details of that. The only thing I keep hearing that I think makes a lot of sense to me is that the challenges that face us with the environment are not going to be solved by a few people doing a lot. They're going to be solved by a lot of people doing a little and normal things. And you guys are doing a lot today, but hopefully through word of mouth and your leadership, we can get a lot of people doing a little bit more every day to start to help out. Mangroves are obviously a huge, important part of the ecosystem, and we're lucky enough to have some of it in the lagoon. So anything we can do as a company and as a citizenship to help further that, that's great, and we applaud it. So
today we're here to celebrate World Mangrove Day, a day dedicated to reflecting on the importance of mangroves and their conservation and why their conservation is crucial. As we will soon learn from our invited speakers, mangroves aren't just trees. They're incredible ecosystems that protect our coastlines, support wildlife, and help fight climate change. Sadly, these ecosystems face serious threats from human activities as well as natural climate change. As the Minister of VROMI, I look forward to sharing the opportunity to witness our mangroves firsthand with you all during the lagoon tour. And I want to assure you that we are committed to protecting these natural and important resources. And I'd like to share with some of you ongoing initiatives we have to support the preservation of our mangroves. Firstly, the ministry is working to protect Little Key Island in the Simpson Bay Lagoon by designating it as a protected nature park through a national decree. While we are aware of proposals from as early as 2004 to designate Little Key, it was only under the last government that these proposals were acted upon, and I want to thank VROMI Policy Advisor Iliko Gilders for her continued great work on this initiative, and rest assured that the advice will be continued and followed. While Little Key might be small, it is home to some of the most ecologically important mangroves on our island. And over the years, various efforts have been made to restore and enhance these mangroves. We've made progress with the draft decree and have received advice from the Council Advice, and we're now happy to announce that we are collaborating with the Nature Foundation, the Blue Marine Foundation, Dutch Caribbean Alliance, Nature Alliance, and DEJONG Legal Consultancy to finalize legislation and present it for formalization during my term as Minister of VROMI. While this is an administratively lengthy process, the ministry and I remain committed to seeing it become a reality. Beyond this, we are continuing to work on future zoning for Sint Maarten that will also protect important areas like Little Key and, of course, the Mullet Pond. Our spatial development strategy directly supports the creation of the zoning plans to protect ecologically important areas and manage the remaining mangrove populations. Additionally, we are currently implementing Project Corina, Coastal Resilience and Needs Assessment. And of course, this makes use of my favorite Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 17, partnerships. So of course, thank you IGY and Brian for supporting this initiative this morning as well. This project focuses on enhancing the resilience and management of our coastal and marine ecosystems, including, of course, mangroves. Through Corina, we're collecting data, educating the community, including hosting events like this one this morning, and conducting research to develop strategies that will inform resilient coastal and marine management principles. I want to leave you with one thing. Development isn't only about construction. As a member of a family involved in generations in the industry of construction, I recognize the need for building, and that this has for a long time been the way we as Caribbean people see progress. But development is holistic. It considers things like education and quality of life. This means a population that understands that the protection of our environment means a stronger, richer tourism product, and in turn, a sustainable, well-rounded economy that is able to provide for its people. So, today, as we celebrate World Mangrove Day, I encourage everyone to appreciate the vital role mangroves play in our environment and support efforts to conserve them. Let us recommit today to a more sustainable and balanced idea of development and what it means to be developed. Thank you all for your attention, and I invite all of you to continue to work with us to protect and preserve the mangroves for our future. Thank you.
I think most of you know, but in case you don't, the Nature Foundation is a nonprofit and non-governmental organization operating on the Dutch side of the island to preserve and protect the marine and terrestrial ecosystems of our island for generations to come. Of course, we invited you here, as Kippy mentioned, for World Mangrove Day, which was celebrated yesterday, also known as the International Day for the Conservation of Mangrove Ecosystems. Through the Corina project, which was mentioned by Minister Gums, our scientist, Dr. Leticia Mathon, will be conducting the Nature Foundation's first mangrove monitoring protocol in the coming weeks in collaboration with the managing body of French Sint Maarten, the Reserve Naturelle. And we very much appreciate their attendance today and their support in these initiatives. The legislation to protect Little Key Island, home to many, many young mangroves, thanks to previous restoration efforts done by our partners in environmental protection in the Caribbean and through local initiatives by individuals, is in the process of being ratified, thanks to the tireless work of our partners in the Ministry of VROMI, the initiative of Minister Gums, and our policy advisor, Kippy Gilders, who has really pushed forward with this through years of struggle to try to get this instated with us. So when Minister Gums came to us at the Nature Foundation with the idea of hosting and celebrating World Mangrove Day through a collaborative event like this one, we were very excited to agree. Education and outreach is a core component of the work that the Nature Foundation does, and this is an excellent opportunity to do so. We really appreciate the attendance of everyone here today. Our project coordinator was approached by an interviewer this week and asked what, if you could say, when was the critical moment for mangroves? Is this a critical moment for mangroves? And Sabrine Brismer, the project coordinator of Corina, stated that the critical moment was probably better described as 60 years ago, 20 years ago, and 10 years ago. As most St. Martiners can tell you, it's never too late, especially if restoration can play a part, but there has been a lack of support and a lack of protection for the mangroves on our island. And it is important that we acknowledge that. Today is not only about celebrating the mangroves we have left, but also about mourning the mangroves lost to unsustainable development, and building the public support to ensure St. Martin's mangrove ecosystems will be restored and will thrive in the future. So we've spoken a lot about why we're here, mangroves, the fact that they're not only trees, but they're ecosystems. But I'm going to give you a little bit more information about what they are and why they're so important to us. Mangroves are, of course, salt-tolerant trees and shrubs, but also ecosystems in which they dominate. So when we refer to a mangrove, we sometimes are referring to the individual tree, like the saplings that are right outside, if you saw them, and sometimes we're referring to the whole ecosystem, like Little Key Island. They're found in areas influenced by ocean tide, which is why they're found in Little Key and in the ponds around St. Maarten. They grow in shallow, muddy areas without significant wave action, which can be problems here in St. Maarten, as we know the weather. And they often receive a mixture of freshwater and saltwater. And most significantly, they are difficult to grow. They take time, and it is difficult to replant and restore this ecosystem. 4 species of mangroves can be found in St. Maarten. That's the buttonwood mangrove, probably the most resilient, which some people use as shrubbery in different places. The white mangrove, which is found prolifically through the ponds in town, in Phillipsburg. the red and black mangroves, the two rarest for St. Maarten, the most difficult to grow, and probably least resilient. Historically, mangroves could be found around St. Maarten's 19 ponds, of which only 5 remain today. These ponds were filled in for development over several different years. They lined the Simpson Bay Lagoon as well, whose coastline has been completely altered by development. Previous Nature Foundation reports estimate that only 5% of the existing coastline is natural, with a 95% being artificially altered by landfill, concrete, dredging, etc.
So yeah, I've been invited to speak at World Mangrove Day at the event here at IGY Marina. It was an honor to be able to participate in this, function jointly organized by Corina, by the Nature Foundation, and by the Ministry of VROMI. And my job really was to frame the importance of mangrove, not only in terms of their importance as an ecosystem or as a tree or as a group of trees, but also the potential that mangrove ecosystems provide to enhance the economy of Sint Maarten. So in terms of their coastal protection function, they act as nurseries for fish, which can form part of our fishery, and they also have various economic benefits in terms of carbon offsetting, et cetera, et cetera. So it was great to be here. We're about to head out into the lagoon to see what our mangrove ecosystems look like in person, so to speak. And then especially, which is awesome for today's event, is that we're joined by the Junior Rangers of the Sint Maarten Nature Foundation, which is their youth group, who will help in explaining us the importance of mangroves and why, especially for them as being the future generation, why it's so important to conserve and protect these ecosystems. So mangroves play a crucial role in coastal protection, biodiversity, and carbon sequestration. But estimates, and I've been hearing some estimates that 60% of the mangroves on Sint Maarten have been lost. That would be awesome, but we have done previous assessments that about 85% of mangrove ecosystems on Sint Maarten have been lost, and about 70% for the wider Caribbean region. So when you look at mangroves, they're some of the most threatened ecosystems within the wider Caribbean region. So the ecosystem goods and services of mangroves. Mangroves provide goods and services. What does this basically mean? They have benefits. And these benefits are related to habitat. So they create habitat for fish nurseries, different type of marine species. Back in the day, the fishermen in Sint Maarten used to fish predominantly in the Simpson Bay Lagoon instead of having to bother to go out on the open sea to fish because the mangrove ecosystem supported so much fish diversity. Coastal protection, mangrove act as a barrier against storm surge, waves, and coastal erosion, so protecting inland areas, something to think about when we're thinking about sea level rise and the impacts of climate change. Water quality, the more mangroves that you have in a certain area, the better your water quality is. Prime example of that is if you go to the Cold Bay corner of the Simpson Bay Lagoon where the majority of the mangroves were removed, and when there's not a lot of circulation in terms of circulation, the water quality is a lot worse than if you go to, for example, by Port au Plaisance, where there's a lot of mangroves where you have much improved water quality because they have this filtration function that they provide the ecosystem. And then I'm also going to talk about some of the financial considerations, but I'll get back to that since that's a little bit more complicated. And then, of course, the most important function, and I'm sure MP Gums, Hadrian, who else? Leslie will agree with me, is that they also habitat for juvenile shark species. So that's why, especially the four of us, love mangroves. And especially in terms of their biodiversity function, mangroves play a very, very critical role. They support up to 80% of reef fish start their life in mangrove ecosystems. So before they become big enough to travel outside of a mangrove ecosystem into the open ocean where they can become a snack for larger species, they tend to spend the beginning of their lives in the mangrove ecosystem. It's sheltered, it provides a perfect opportunity for them to be protected. And then of course, fish, although, us conservation people, we love them, but they're not exactly the smartest of animals, so they also become food eventually. So if you provide ecosystems for fish to be able to get to a certain size and to become resilient, eventually they can also increase our food resources.
We just got back from taking a tour of the lagoon where we saw all the mangroves. This morning we commemorated World Mangrove Day, which was actually yesterday, July 26th. And we had a very interesting morning today in partnership with the Nature Foundation, as well as our partners and friends at IGY Marina, where we spoke very much about the value of our mangrove ecosystems and the importance of sustainable development.